What happens if half of the population can't get a job because of AI? One of the questions I often get is, well, why don't we just ban artificial intelligence? And the reason is because our capitalist system.
สนับสนุนโดย True D Tech ให้ของขวัญกับทุกรอยยิ้มของคุณ
และวันนี้ใน Tech Originals ครับเราจะได้รับฟังแนวคิดของ Brett King Founder and CEO ของ The Futurists Network และเขายังเป็นนักอนาคตวิทยานักเขียนที่คร่ำวอร์ดในวงการของ AI ซึ่งหนังสือของเขายัง Augmented แม้แต่ประธานาธิบดีสีจิ้นผิงของจีนยังแนะนำให้อ่านเลยครับโดยวันนี้เราจะมาดูว่าแนวคิดทางเศรษฐศาสตร์ทุนนิยมกับการพัฒนา AI จะนำไปสู่ปลายทางของคำถามที่ว่าถ้า AI จะมาแทนที่คนแล้วทำไมคนถึงไม่แบน AI ตั้งแต่แรกครับ
When we look at the most impactful areas of AI impacting work and our future in the next 10 years or so, the biggest element is really use of AI to create productivity gains in the workforce. This is really the primary objective that we see that capital markets are investing in today. It's that element of automation. So you go back to the 1970s and you hear Milton Friedman and other economists talk about productivity gains and productivity in the workforce. And this is essentially how we've increased GDP growth over the last 50 years. But the greatest productivity tool is having no human employees. And this is largely the aim that the capital markets have from artificial intelligence. So we're going to see lots of automation, self-driving taxis, factories that operate themselves with robotics, robotic surgeons, automation of things like accounting and legal advice and the justice system and so forth. But the main change will be in the way we work. Is in the future as an individual, if you're not working with AI or you're not integrating artificial intelligence into your company, you're going to find it increasingly difficult to compete against companies that are much more efficient, much more productive because of their investment in artificial intelligence. So the big question is, what should we do to prepare for this transition into highly automated workplaces and economies? When we talk about the future, like in the 2050 timeframe, it's a bit longer away, but we talk about smart economies being the biggest economies in the world. And so when you think about that from an infrastructure perspective, really you have to think about as an employer, organization, where do I add value in this automated value chain that's coming? Whether it's supply chain automation, whether it is automation of information, automation of analysis or advice or the service industry, all of these areas are part of this sort of growing infrastructure of autonomous economies that we'll be aiming for with artificial intelligence. So this requires a few core skill sets. Number one, most importantly, you need to work with AI. Number two, you need to be highly adaptable. You need to be continuously learning over this phase. But the biggest areas for improvement on a long-term basis where humans can differentiate from machines. And when we look at one of the ways Thailand is positioning itself globally, economically, is as a destination for lifestyle and experience. So the digital nomad experience and so forth. This is going to be very important for economies to compete in the future. What is the quality of life that you can have in a highly automated society? This is when a society is focused on allowing people the time and the options to really experience life in an economy that's highly automated. So food, education, entertainment, traveling, these are the human experiences and longevity, looking after our health. These are the human experiences that will differentiate from the machine or automated world in the future. So when you look at the disruptive potential of artificial intelligence, particularly from a technology unemployment perspective, one of the questions I often get is, well, why don't we just ban artificial intelligence? And the reason is because our capitalist system. The capitalist system works on using technology to gain an advantage to make more profit. And so AI is the greatest productivity tool, the greatest tool in creating capital gains that we will ever see in the history of economics and money. And so you can't expect the capitalist system to say, we don't want a mechanism that's going to create the greatest wealth of the last 500 years. So that's what's driving capitalism to invest in high levels of automation. But that presents us a problem. Wealth distribution and inequality become a major problem in highly automated societies. Because the only way we create wealth distribution today is we give you a job. And you work at that job and you get paid. But what happens if half of the population can't get a job because of AI? Well, that's when we need to either think about a different economic system, or we need to use things like universal basic income to support people who have been displaced by technology. Ultimately, though, what we learn of this process is if you follow that train of thought and the progression of artificial intelligence, you realize one very important thing. Capitalism and artificial intelligence are not compatible. At some point in the future, assuming AI wins, we'll have to come up with a new economic system of thinking that goes beyond capitalism.